You've been grinding nonstop, yet wealth stays out of reach, the rich know why. In the next few minutes, you'll learn the exact things they cut out so you can create the same space for wealth. We'll audit your noise, strip away low-value actions, and refill the freed time with high-leverage wealth builders. First, we'll expose the hidden distractions that eat your potential. Then I'll show you a simple 5-minute daily log to spot every minute that costs you compounding returns. Finally, you'll walk away with a quick win you can implement right now today and start seeing change. The subtractive strategy flips the usual productivity playbook on its head. Instead of piling on more tasks, you start by removing the stuff that drags you down. Think of it as clearing a garden before planting new seeds. The rich spend hours each week hunting for the dead weight in their schedules because every minute they keep a low-value activity is a minute they can't invest in compounding returns. By targeting removal first, you instantly create capacity without burning out. Most people stumble because they treat a to-do list like a trophy rack. They add a new habit, a new project, or another meeting, assuming more hustle equals more progress. The problem is linear effort only yields linear results. Wealth, however, grows exponentially when you have free bandwidth to apply leverage. When you never clear space, you end up running on a treadmill, busy but never moving forward. That's why the rich are obsessively disciplined about saying no before they say yes. Now let's name the usual suspects. Mindless scrolling on social feeds steals hours that could be spent learning a new skill or analyzing an investment. Endless meetings, especially those without a clear agenda, become busy work that fragments focus. Email inboxes clogged with newsletters and low-priority requests turn into daily distraction storms. Even the habit of multitasking, checking Slack while drafting reports, creates hidden cognitive drag. These activities feel productive, but their revenue impact is zero or even negative when you factor in the mental fatigue they generate. To bring these invisible drains into the light, use a 5-minute daily log. At the end of each workday, grab a notebook or a simple notes app and write down every activity you performed. Broken into 5-minute blocks. Next to each block, label it with one of 4 impact categories. High directly adds revenue or high leverage growth. Medium supports high impact work but isn't revenue direct. Low takes time but has little to no financial return. 0 pure consumption or distraction. After a week, you'll have a heat map of where your time truly goes. When you tally the low and 0 blocks, translate them into dollars. Suppose you earn $150 per hour in your core role. Every 5-minute slot of low-value work is $12.50 of lost earning potential. Multiply that by 20 such slots per week, and you're throwing away $250 every week or $13,000 a year that could have been compounding in investments or building a side business. That hidden cost is the silent wealth killer the rich eliminate before they even think about making money. Here's a quick win you can pull off right now. Identify one 30-minute time sink on your log, maybe a scrolling session, a low-priority meeting, or a routine report you could automate. Block that slot tomorrow and replace it with a single high-leverage activity, like reading a chapter of a finance book or drafting a strategic plan. Write down the reclaimed half hour and notice how it feels to have intentional space instead of a vague gap. Now that we've exposed the noise, let's learn how to cut it cleanly. Why hustle culture backfires is simple. You're pumping energy into tasks that never move the needle. When effort isn't multiplied by leverage, growth stays linear, and linear growth can't keep up with exponential wealth. The rich avoid that trap by pruning the low-value branches before they ever try to grow new fruit. What you need to do is replace blind hustle with high-leverage focus. High-leverage activities are those that generate results far beyond the time you invest. Think investment research, strategic networking, or mastering a skill that unlocks a new income stream. Low-leverage tasks, by contrast, are repetitive and replaceable. Answering every email, formatting routine reports, or attending meetings that have no clear decision point. The first shortcut is delegation. If a task can be done by someone else for less than the value you'd earn doing it, outsource it. Simple tools like email filters, canned responses, or a virtual assistant can shave minutes off daily churn. Even a modest automation, say a spreadsheet macro that consolidates data in 15 seconds instead of 15 minutes, creates a 14-minute daily surplus you can redirect towards strategic work. Boundary setting is the second pillar. Rich professionals carve out no meeting blocks, usually 2 to 3 hours each day, where they shut off calendar invites and notifications. During those windows, they tackle high-leverage projects that require deep focus, because the brain's productivity drops dramatically the moment you switch tasks. Digital detox windows work the same way. Turn off social apps for a set period, and you'll notice an immediate lift in mental bandwidth. Let me illustrate with a real-world example. Sarah, a senior analyst at a Fortune 500 firm, spent 2 hours every morning compiling a performance report manually. She built a simple macro that pulled the same data from the database in 15 seconds. The automation freed 1.75 hours each day, which she redirected into strategic modeling that directly influenced the company's quarterly forecasts. The result: Her team's forecast accuracy improved by 12%, and she earned a promotion within 6 months. Proof that cutting a low-value task can create high-impact outcomes. The most common mistake after you start cutting tasks is the empty hour trap. You eliminate a meeting, but you don't fill that slot with anything purposeful, so the brain defaults to scrolling or mindless chatter. The fix is to pre-assign a high-leverage activity to every reclaimed block before you even free it. Here's an immediate action you can take right now. Open your audit from Section 1, locate the task you rated as low with the smallest impact, and decide whether you can delegate it to a colleague, automate it with a tool, or simply drop it. Set a deadline for this week, assign the responsibility, and block the newly freed half hour on your calendar for a high-leverage habit like reading a chapter on asset allocation. By the end of 7 days, you'll have a concrete example of how subtraction creates capacity, and you'll already be practicing the habit of intentional allocation. With the clutter gone, the next step is to fill the space with wealth-building engines. That's the power of subtraction. Now that the noise is gone, the real work begins, filling the freed bandwidth with activities that actually build wealth. The rich treat every reclaimed minute as a new asset, capital they can invest in high-leverage engines rather than letting it sit idle. First, decide which wealth generators align with your skill set and long-term goals. The most common buckets are focused learning, investment research, and relationship building. Focused learning means dedicating a block of time to acquire a skill that directly raises your earning power. Whether it's mastering financial modeling, learning a programming language that automates data analysis, or studying tax-efficient investing. Investment research isn't about reading headlines. It's a disciplined hour each week where you dive into balance sheets, assess risk metrics, and map out potential portfolio adjustments. Relationship building is the third pillar. Scheduling coffee calls with mentors, joining industry roundtables, or simply following up with a contact who can open a deal flow. A practical way to lock these activities into your day is habit stacking. Pair the newly freed 30-minute slot with a high-impact habit you already do. For example, after your morning coffee, open a finance book and read 2 pages, then immediately open your portfolio dashboard and note any deviation from target allocations. The brain treats the 2 actions as a single routine, making the new habit stick without extra willpower. Why does this matter? The compound effect of even modest, consistent effort is massive. Imagine you spend 1 extra hour each week deepening your investment knowledge. Over a year, that's 52 hours, roughly the time of a short course. If that study improves your portfolio's annual return by just 2%, a $100,000 base grows to $104,040 instead of $102,000. Over 5 years, the gap widens to nearly $12,000, purely from better decisions made in those reclaimed hours. The math is simple. Time multiplied by leverage equals exponential growth. Mindset shift is crucial here. Instead of viewing subtraction as loss, see it as capital creation. Time and mental bandwidth are finite resources. When you free them, you generate idle capital that you can allocate to the highest return activities. This reframes the entire productivity equation. You're no longer busy, you're strategically investing. To make this loop reliable, follow a 4-step action roadmap. Step 1, audit, track every activity and label its impact. Step 2, eliminate, remove, or delegate the low-impact tasks. Step 3, allocate, assign each reclaimed block to a specific wealth-building habit. Step 4, review at the end of each week, compare the time you allocated versus the outcomes you achieved, and adjust the next week's schedule accordingly. This weekly feedback loop keeps you honest and ensures the space you create never goes back to waste. Finally, a micro-challenge to cement the habit. For the 7 days, run the audit, eliminate, allocate loop without deviation. Each morning, write down the 3 activities you'll focus on that day. At night, tally the minutes you actually spent on them and note any stray low-value minutes that slipped in. By end of week, you'll have data on how much more wealth-related output you generated. Use that data as proof that the strategy works. Key takeaway: the richest people grow wealth by first stripping away noise, then pouring the reclaimed time into high-leverage actions. Try the audit, eliminate, allocate loop for a week, track the results, and watch your productivity shift from busy to profitable. If you found this useful, hit subscribe, grab the next video on automating your biggest time drain, and drop a comment with the habit you're cutting today and share your progress publicly.